Hello, it's Davy Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas, where I run the jazz guitar program. Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist. Got my discography up here. Live at National Sawdust, Benign Strangers, Hope of Home, Perrier Street. Personalizing Jazz Vocabulary is my Mel Bay improv book, and the new book, which is going to be called Into the Labyrinth, An Anatomy of Position Playing for Jazz Guitar, is pretty much done. Did the grueling editing process. It's amazing how things slip past you, especially when it's a lot of numbers and diagrams, not to mention sentences. But that'll be probably out sometime in 2022. And yeah, it's the end of the semester here. We're done. Grades are in. Everything's been finished. Hallelujah. It's a rewarding job very much, musically and artistically and every other kind of way, educationally, pedagogically, but it's hard work what we're doing. We're not playing around here. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the Joe Henderson tune Serenity. Now that I'm feeling a bit of serenity post-semester, this is an appropriate tune. And yeah, he recorded it on that record In and Out from '64, I believe, '64, '65, something like that, with Elvin Jones, McCoy Tyner, Kenny Durham, Richard Davis. I think that's everybody. And man, some of McCoy Tyner's best. I mean, this period of McCoy Tyner, he's just on fire, unstoppable. But yeah, on this record, he's very much on fire and unstoppable, even by his standards. And yeah, it's a great tune. It's a 14-bar tune, which is kind of interesting. And it has a really nice combination of functional harmony and modal harmony. And in some ways, these are my favorite kinds of tunes, where you get a chance to play. Obviously, I'm very much in the classic jazz, old school vibe. That's my roots, my Joe Pass and my Wes Montgomery. And, as much as I love more modern players like Kurt Rosenwinkel and Ben Monder and Peter Bernstein, who of course is timeless, and many others, of my own generation, the Mike Morenos and Lagay and Gilad and so many other people. It's always good for my style if the tune has a healthy healthy dose of, 2/5s, and it's kind of those classic progressions, because that's where my roots are at. And this one definitely has that, along with some, Joe Henderson had this great way of just sort of whimsically moving around, especially, major 7, sharp 11 chords, which you hear a little bit on this one. Obviously there's Inner Urge, and then Black Narcissus has a lot of those chords as well. That's kind of one of his trademarks. But just to dive right into the harmony, it starts out with a 2/5 in C minor. But then instead of going to C minor, you get an A flat major 7, sharp 11, to a G flat major 7, sharp 11, to an E minor 7, A7. And that's an interesting, like I said, mixture of the functional and whimsical / modal. Because yeah, A flat major 7, the upper structure of that is C minor, C minor 9 and A flat major 7. So you can, in some ways, just resolve like you're going to resolve to a C minor, and pretty much everything works. But then very quickly, you've got that G flat major 7, which is not C minor. So, I'll do stuff like, so I was just, arpeggiating a G flat major 7. And what I do on this tune, I was telling a student the other day, even though the bass motion and the chords go down in whole steps like this, like A flat major 7, G flat major 7, E minor 7. I kind of think of the E minor 7 as like a G major 7 sharp 5. Just to kind of mix it up, and I don't know, it helps me to not have to move down what I'm doing in whole steps like that. And as I've said previously, there's nothing wrong with following the bass motion of the chords, and I'm sure there's like examples of people doing that in a really shredding way. But so what I try to go for is like, kind of go up a half step from that G flat major 7 to a G major 7 sharp 11. Because that's the same chord scale that you would play for E minor 7 to A7, right? E Dorian to A Mixolydian, G Lydian. It's all D flat major. Plus, you don't have very much time to do it in, you know, the harmonic rhythm. so that's one way that I deal with that. Hey, sorry for the intrusion, but I just realized after watching this video that I misspoke. And a couple minutes ago, a couple seconds ago, I said that E minor 7 to A7, that E Dorian and A7 are all the D flat major scale, but I meant to say D major scale. It gets confusing with all the flat 13s and sharp 5s and this and that. And a little bit before that, I called this chord G major sharp 5, G major 7 sharp 5. Of course, I meant G major 7 sharp 11. Okay, back to the show. And then the next 4 bars, you have F minor, B flat 7, E flat major, and a quick 2-5, actually 2 C minor in this case, then an A flat minor. So again, very functional there, you know, 2-5 to the relative major, if you think of the tune as being in kind of C minor, E flat major, and then this A flat minor 7, flat 5, and you're kind of like, where's that, or no, I'm sorry, not flat 5, A flat minor 7, A flat minor 6, where's that going to go? So we got, and then you have G7, G flat 7, F7. You know, harmonic rhythm is kind of like, at least on the head. So that's G7, G flat 7, F7, E major 7 sharp 11, and then a 2-5 to E flat, and then the song ends with a D minor 7 5 5 G7. It goes back to the top. And so the harmonic rhythm of all that, I'll kind of do that. I guess that's actually like 10 bars in a little, just to show you how it goes. Like F minor, B flat 7, E flat, quick 2-5 to C minor, maybe a walk down to A flat minor 6, and then G7, G flat 7, F7, E major 7, F minor 7, E flat 7 alter, E flat major 7. So there's a lot there. Like I said, the first part is very functional. The F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 2-5, right? D minor 7, flat 5, G7, C minor 2-5, and C. A flat minor, okay. Maybe it's 5 of C again. Could be, right? It's like a D flat 7. But then this part, maybe it's worth talking about a bit, because I remember when I first played this song, you know, seeing G7, G flat 7, F7, and then E major, it was hard for me to not think like, okay, well, that's some type of tritone substitution, back cycling, like the kind of stuff that I would see in, you know, in Joe Pass and Gershwin and harmony like that. But I kind of feel like this is a little different. And what I do in these instances with this type of harmony is I look for what I call in the book negative guide tones, in other words, common tones. You know, obviously there are the guide tones, the tones that change for each chord. But there's also like the fact that, okay, my student the other day, it almost sounds cool if you play, you could take like totally different approach to that progression and kind of play E flat minor pentatonic. It kind of works somehow. Well, it would naturally work on an E major 7 sharp 11, right? Because when you have E major 7 sharp 11, go down a whole step, I'm sorry, half step, and play a minor pentatonic, and it's a really cool sound. But just the notes of that works well on the G7, is it G7 flat 13, at least the top part of it. Maybe that note, not so much, because it's a major 7, but then the next chord is G flat 7, so yeah, works very well there, right? Because that's the major pentatonic, you know, of G flat. Then the F7, you know, it goes by so fast, you know. You can almost ignore the chords, or you can take another approach, treat them individually, that works too. On the F7, I definitely am hearing that it has a flat 13, even though that's not written in the harmony. But again, that kind of leads me back to E flat minor pentatonic as being kind of a scale or a group of notes that fits that whole progression. If you zoom out a little bit, you know, when I was younger, it was hard for me to to zoom out. I was so focused on I got to hit every chord. This is the chord, and I have to show people how I can hit the chords, and now I can hit the chords. And then I'd listen back and be like, it doesn't sound right. It sounds like I'm trying to hit all the chords, and that's not what I want it to sound like. So yeah, like what actually sounds good of it. Then of course you go back and hear McCoy Tyner, you know, one of the most shredding solos ever on this tune, you know, and at least at one point he kind of goes, he just plays that little one, or some that's not exactly what he plays, but some variation on the 1, 2, 3, 5 thing. On those chords descending, and it sounds amazing, you know, because everything he plays in this time period, you know, in general, but this time period, my goodness, is just on fire. So, you know, you can go either way. It's kind of like I had some of the same things to say about Along Came Betty and a lot of these tunes where sometimes I want to zoom out, and sometimes it's cool to like just take it chord by chord and play on every chord. Another thing that's interesting about this this tune, I think, is like on the way they play the head. I always like when I hear two horn lines, I like to check out what the arrangement actually is. You know, so the first time, you know, they play in unison, I think, or octaves. You know, but there's no. But then the second time, you get this nice harmony on that part we were just talking about. So you got this again. Then they go. I always thought that was kind of cool. So like from the C minor, you know, this is maybe kind of obvious to have that, you know, the tenor drops down and plays against the E flat, you know, the 9 to the root, and then B natural or C flat to give you the minor third of A flat minor. Let's see. And then plays this. It's the G7, so he does the natural kind of guide tone thing that you would think, going from, you know, B natural, B flat to A. But then instead of when the E major comes, instead of going down to G sharp, he goes down to F, which I always thought was F sharp, I'm sorry. That I always thought was really cool to go down to the 9, so you get this like. That's also a really slick melody at the end on the last B flat 7. That, you know, flat 13, sharp 9, flat 7 to the major 7. So, you know, it's a really great tune, and yeah, like I said, you know, playing over it, it's that nice mixture of functional and modal progressions, and you know, there's this part that I've talked about, you know, A flat major 7, G flat major 7, sharp 11, E minor 7, A7, and then this part. So I have strategies to deal with those parts of the tune. The rest of it's just, you know, 2 5s, and it's nice. There's some nice diminished things. There's a nice version, as there is with many of these tunes. There's a live Kurt Rosenwinkel version with, sorry, it slips my mind. I think he's playing with a band. It's in Cologne, and I think it's a German band that he's playing with, but it's great. And it's the first couple of choruses of his solo before the piano comes in, where he's just kind of playing trio with the rhythm section, is so good. And he does some cool, there's some diminished stuff on that D minor 7 flat 5 to G7. It kind of sounds really good to get, you know, if you do the half whole diminished. Kind of resolves nicely to the A flat major 7 sharp 11. But anyway, I'll play a few, maybe 4 choruses or so on this tune and explore some of these ideas, and I hope you enjoy it. And everybody have a safe and happy holiday.
Mm-hmm.